Joshua and Caleb years later in Joshua 14. Verse 6 says, And the children of Yehudah came to Yehoshua in Gilgal, and Caleb, son of Yefunah the Kentonite, said to him, You know the word which Jehovah said to Moshe, the man of Elohim, concerning you and me in Kadesh Barnea. I was 40 years old when Moshe, the servant of Yehovah, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to spy out the land, and I brought back word to him as was in my heart. But my brothers who went up with me made the heart of the peoples melt. But I followed Yehovah, my Elohim, completely. So this is what we were seeing in the first part. Okay, it was in the heart of Caleb, what he said and how he represented Yehovah was what was in his heart. He believed Yehovah when he spoke those words. But the 10 Nasi of the children of Israel that went up, he says, made the heart of the people melt. So as we were looking at, when we speak from our belief or from our unbelief, we can affect other people in how they respond to the word. We can make it seem as though it is foolishness, especially as people who believe Yehovah is Elohim. If you are someone who believes Yehovah is Elohim, but you advise people that maybe it's okay to not do the word in this circumstance, or you've got this outlying situation in your life which makes it okay to not obey the word, then we can actually weaken their hands and their resolve in following Yehovah. So Moshe swore on that day, saying, The land on which your foot has trodden is your inheritance and your children's forever, because you have followed Yehovah my Elohim completely. And now see, Yehovah has kept me alive. And he said, these 45 years since Yehovah spoke this word to Moshe, while Yisrael walked in the wilderness, and now see, I am 85 years old today. Yet I am still as strong today as I was on the day that Moshe sent me. As my strength was then, so my strength is now for battle and for going out and coming in. And now give me this mountain of which Yehovah spoke in that day. For you heard in that day how the Anakim were there, and that the cities were great and walled. If Yehovah is with me, then I shall dispossess them, as Yehovah said. So this is something that must be present in our lives too. When we believe Yehovah, we are steadfast in that belief. These 45 years, just as Caleb was ready to go in and fight the giants then, he's ready in this day to go and fight the giants, the sons the Anaki and the sons of Anak. He was just as ready at that point. It's not about doing things which seem absurd and having faith in Yehovah just in the moment, and then later on in life thinking perhaps in some way your earlier righteousness, your earlier trusting in Yehovah has bought you good standing with him, and that you can be disobedient with him in the future. The walk is a walk of belief and steadfastness. You must run the race from the beginning to the end. Doesn't matter if you've trusted in him in something in the past. That doesn't buy you credit with Yehovah. Yehoshua then blessed them and gave Hebron to Caleb, son of Yefunah, as an inheritance. So Hebron became the inheritance of Caleb, son of Yefunah, the Kenizzite, to this day, because he followed Yehovah, Elohim of Israel, completely. But all the congregation said to stone them with stones. Then the esteem of Yehovah appeared in the tent meeting for the children of Israel. So we're back to where we were previously. Today, as I mentioned at the end of the first part, we're in the same situation. Yehovah's people would still rather hear the lie that accommodates their unbelief Okay, the lie of the spies who were all believers that Yehovah was Elohim. They came back. People would rather hear that than the words of life, which are actually good. What Yehoshua and Caleb were saying was good for the people and would have led them into a situation where they were under Yehovah's blessing and they possessed the land and everything would have been as good as it could be for those people. And yet they would rather hear the lie that allows their unbelief to be accommodated. Okay, it would be better for us to go back to the land of Mitzrayim. Yehovah's people are still bombarded. They still believe the lies. They're bombarded with this misinformation, these seductive lies. And people, as we saw in the first part, like to gather teachers to themselves to tell them these lies. Okay, just like these 10 spies, they want to go to the 10 spies who tell them, oh, it's okay if you're fearful, it's all right. We can't go in and do that. Those people are stronger than Yehovah is. They might not say things which are so jarring as that, but that's the implication of what they're saying. They believe the lies and they trust in the lies and the reasoning and the reckonings of men about whether or not following the word will work, rather than people like Joshua and Caleb who simply say, let's go, Yehovah's with us, he's got all of the details sorted out, all we need to do is our bit, is our disobedience. So they choose to take issue, the children of Israel at the moment, they choose to take issue with one of their own who is actually loving them and wants the best for them, than to stand up to the actual enemy, stand up to those who want to steal Yehovah's words, who actually want to put them in a bad position. They actually want to believe that Yehovah doesn't exist. They want to believe that the situation anyway is as if Yehovah doesn't exist. So when they look at whether or not following the word is possible, they completely remove Yehovah from reality and then act and speak as if that's the case. It just shows that they don't believe that he is actually a real part of reality, or at least that they can trust him as Elohim to do the things that he has said that he will do. Matthew 5 verse 11 says, blessed are you when they reproach and persecute you and falsely say every wicked word against you for my sake. Again, important caveat, for Yeshua's sake. So all of the congregation here picked up stones to stone Joshua and Caleb, and Yeshua says, you're blessed when people do that, and you should expect that people will. Woe to you when all men speak well of you, for thus their fathers did to the false prophets. If that's how you go about your life, that's how you interact with other believers, you don't tell them what the actual truth is, you go along with their self-deception, you go along and act like what they're saying is going to benefit them. That's exactly what the false prophets did as well. If you speak words to them and say, oh, it's going to be okay, Yehovah has plans to profit you, not to hurt you, and you take little chunks of scripture which are true, but you apply them in a way that is false. That is what the false prophets did. And all men may well speak well of you, but woe to you if all men speak well of you for you doing that. Verse 11 then says in our Torah portion, and Yehovah said to Moshe, how long shall I be scorned by all these people, and how long shall I not be trusted by them? This is what's important to Yehovah, that the people trust him, just as Abraham trusted him. With all the signs that I have done in their midst, they'd seen so much of what Yehovah had done, so many amazing things that Yehovah had done in their lives, just as we have today. We've seen Yehovah work powerfully in our lives. But for some people, that's not enough to make them trust Yahovah in the future. And we've seen before that signs really don't persuade anyone of anything. Maybe if they're fickle, they'll be persuaded by signs one way and then signs another way, but they're not solid and founded in the word. These people had come out of Egypt, had the Red Sea parted for them. Exodus 14:30-31 says, Thus Yahovah saved Israel that day out the hand of the Mitzrites, and Israel saw the Mitzrites dead on the seashore. Israel saw the great work which Yahovah had done in Mitzrayim, and the people feared Yahovah and believed Yahovah and his servant Moshe. So in that moment, they saw that what Yahovah had said about vanquishing their enemy was true. They could see that they could believe in him. But now, what are we at? About a year and a half later, the people, when they're faced with the same situation, an enemy who is coming against them, an impossible circumstance, they choose to turn around and go back to Egypt. That's what they would rather do. That's what they think would be better for them to do. In Exodus 7 verse 3 it says, But I'm going to harden the heart of Pharaoh and shall increase my signs and wonders in the land of Mitzrayim. So Pharaoh had seen the signs and wonders that Yahovah had done as well, but his heart was against Yahovah. Yahovah strengthened him in that. People can be hard-hearted today, and Yahovah may well strengthen them in their hard-heartedness, because we can see Yeshua explains to us that he does not want people to turn to him. He would rather they were blinded and that their hearts were hard so that they didn't turn to him, and he would be forced to heal them. If they don't trust him, if they don't believe him, if they don't love him, they don't fear him, that is not the people that Yahovah is looking for. Okay, he blinds those people so that they cannot see, and their hearts are hardened against him because he doesn't want them to turn to him. They're not people who have faith in him. Most importantly, they're not people who trust him. This is something that comes through all throughout the scriptures. They're just like the friend of God. What a thing to be called, as Abraham was. Abraham trusted him, and when he said something to him, he believed him. Mark 4:14-20 says, The sower sows the word. These then are the ones by the wayside where the word is sown. When they hear, Satan comes immediately and takes away the word that was sown in their hearts. And likewise, these are the ones sown on rocky places, who when they hear the word immediately receive it with joy. They have no root in themselves, but are short-lived. And when pressure or persecution arises because of the word, immediately they stumble. And others are those who are sown among thorns. These are they who hear the word, and the worries of this age and the deceit of riches and the desire for other matters entering in choke the word, and it becomes fruitless. So, the thing that comes across throughout this is that these people do not have belief. When they hear the word, they receive it immediately with joy. Just like people who believe Yahovah is Elohim. They believe that his word is the word of Yahovah. They receive it with joy. But then when some kind of test comes up, Hasatan will either tempt them away, or take the word from their hearts, or they see something in their life which is threatened, the cares of this life, their own personal comfort, for example. The word becomes fruitless when pressure or persecution arises, just like we've been looking at. Okay, when you speak to people what the word actually is, and you say, oh no, in this circumstance, I'm afraid I'm going to have to not work on Shabbat. Maybe it's a husband saying it to an unbelieving wife. I'm going to have to not work on Shabbat. And the wife then is not happy. She says, oh, how can it be that we will come through this Elohim of yours that you want to follow? Do not let Elohim's word deceive you that these things are going to be fine. And when these pressures or the persecutions arise because of the word, immediately they stumble. Okay, and so these are all people in whom there is no belief. They're not steadfast. They're not like Joshua. They're not like Caleb, who followed Yahuwah completely. They begin to follow him, but they don't believe him. They don't trust in him. And those who are sown on good soil are those who hear the word and accept it. Bear fruit, some 30, some 60, and some 100-fold. They hear the word and they accept it. They believe it. They trust in the word. Whatever the word says, that's what they're to do. They're steadfast and they follow Yahuwah wholly. And you might think, well, there are hardly any people who do that. And perhaps you're not one of the people who does that. But the word is there as a warning. The word is there as reproof, so that you can assess those things. You can assess whether or not you believe in Yahuwah, because almost certainly you will say that you do. You can assess what it is to believe in Yahuwah and see clearly what is required of you, what it is to trust him. You can see that it's not trusting him. If you put yourself in his position, and you're going to have a kingdom of people on the earth, you want people that you're able to trust. Okay? He who is trustworthy in a little is trustworthy in much. So you are going to want to see that you can trust people to do what you say. That just makes perfect sense. So if you're in that situation and you're thinking, wow, I've acted in a way which is not trusting Yahuwah, I've acted to prove that I have not trusted him, then you have an opportunity. What Elohim wants everyone to do, it's not his will that any be destroyed, but that all will come to repentance. If you've professed your faith in him, but you've shown that you have no faith in him, you have not demonstrated that faith, you have an opportunity. Think what that situation is in your life where you're not trusting him. Resolve today that if Yahuwah is with you, no one can be against you, and that you're going to trust him and see him work in your life. Hear the word and accept it. Mark 8:11-12 says, and the Pharisees came out and began to dispute with him, seeking from him a sign from heaven, trying him. And sighing deeply in his spirit, he says, why does this generation seek a sign? Truly I say to you, no sign shall be given to this generation. As we can see in the Torah portion, if people don't believe him at his word, they don't trust him, it doesn't matter how many signs he shows. We'll see if we read the book of Revelation, that although these things are happening on the earth, men still will not repent. People are prone to say that if God just proved that he existed to them, they would believe in him. But we can see from the word that that is absolutely not true. And this seeking of a sign as if that is going to convince you, we can see is a wicked thing. Yeshua describes it as something that this adulterous generation in the day when he came did. John 12:34-48 says, the crowd answered him, we have heard out of the Torah that the Messiah remains forever. And how do you say the son of Adam has to be lifted up? Who is this son of Adam? So the Messiah is going to remain forever. You're saying that the son of Adam has to be lifted up. How do those things work together? Yeshua therefore said to them, yet a little while the light is with you, walk while you have the light, lest the darkness overtake you. And he who walks in darkness does not know where he's going. So he doesn't answer their question. He just says, listen, you've got the light. Believe in the light while it's with you, because that's the only thing that's going to make the difference here. While you have the light, believe in the light, so that you become sons of light. These words Yeshua spoke and went off and was hidden from them. But though he had done so many signs before them, they did not believe in him. Just as when Yehovah brought the children of Israel out of Mitzrayim, that the word of Yeshayahu the prophet might be filled, which he spoke, Yehovah, who has believed our report, and to whom has the arm of Yehovah been revealed? Because of this they were unable to believe, because again Yeshayahu said, He has blinded their eyes, and hardened their heart, so that they should not see with their eyes and understand with their heart, and turn, and I should heal them. Yeshayahu said this when he saw his esteem and spoke of him. Still, even among the rulers, many did believe in him. Okay, so some people did believe in him, but because of the Pharisees, they did not confess him, lest they should be put out of the congregation. So again, they were fearful. Okay, just like people who can believe that Yehovah is Elohim, but because of whatever situation in their life, they fear, and so they do not act in accordance with it. For they love the praise of men more than the praise of Elohim. This is what we do. We prove where our hearts are. This is how we prove what it is that what we love and what we crave. Then Yeshua cried out and said, He who believes in me believes not in me, but in him who sent me. And he who sees me sees him who sent me. So Yeshua reveals that it's not about these signs that he's doing. He who actually believes in him, who trusts him, believes not in him, but in the one who sent him, in the Father, whose works they could see in what Yeshua was doing. I have come as a light into the world, so that no one who believes in me should stay in darkness. And if anyone hears my words but does not watch over them, doesn't believe them, doesn't trust them, he says, I do not judge him, for I did not come to judge the world, but to save the world. He who rejects me and does not receive my words has one who judges him. The word that I have spoken shall judge him in the last day. The same is true for us. For us, it will be the word that we did not believe that will judge us in the last day, that will prove that we did not believe Yehovah. John 6:60-68 says, Therefore many of his disciples, having heard, said, This word is hard. Who is able to hear it? But Yeshua, knowing within himself that his disciples were grumbling about this, said to them, Does this make you stumble? What if you see the Son of Adam going up where he was before? It is the Spirit that gives life. The flesh does not profit at all. The words that I speak to you are spirit and life. But there are some of you who do not believe. Okay? Same with us today. Yehovah's word, it's spirit and life. It's that which gives life. But there are some who do not believe. For Yeshua knew from the beginning who they were who did not believe and who would deliver him up. And he said, Because of this, I have said to you that no one is able to come to me unless it has been given to him by my Father. From then on, many of his disciples withdrew and were not walking with him anymore. This is not the 12, however. Yeshua therefore said to the 12, Do you also wish to go away? Then Shimon Kepha, Simon Peter, answered him, Master, to whom shall we go? You possess the words of everlasting life. So this is the same today. Okay, many of the people who say that they follow Yeshua do not believe him. When something is hard in the word, they say, This word is hard. Who can hear it? And they do not do it. But just like Joshua and Caleb, there's always some, the ones who truly believe, the remnants as they're called in Scripture. They recognize, where else would we go? How can we not do the word? Although it's hard, it's going to be difficult to do this. I'm going to be fearful perhaps in doing this. What other option do we have? That is what belief in the word truly is. That's what it is to believe the word. What other option do we have? If you believe what the word says, then that is abundantly clear. Acts 5:12-13 says, "And through the hands of the apostles, many signs and wonders were done among the people, and they were all with one mind in Shlomo's porch. But of the rest, no one had the courage to join them. However, the people made much of them." Okay, so again, they saw the signs and wonders. They believed in that sense, but they didn't have the courage to join with them. Okay, they didn't have the courage to do that which was difficult, to go against the scribes and the Pharisees or the rulers of Israel in that day, to do what was going to be inconvenient. They didn't have the courage to do that. John 11:43-50. "And when he had said this, he cried with a loud voice, 'Eleazar, come out.' And he who had died came out, bound feet and hands with wrappings, and his face was wrapped in a cloth. Yeshua said to them, 'Loosen him and let him go.' Therefore many of the Jews who had come to Miriam and had seen what Yeshua did believed in him. But some of them went away to the Pharisees, told them what Yeshua did. So the chief priests and Pharisees gathered the council and said, 'What shall we do? Because this man does many signs. If we let him alone like this, they shall all believe in him, and the Romans shall come and take away from us both our place and our nation.' And one of them, Caiaphas, being high priest that year, said to them, 'You know naught, neither do you consider that it is better for us that one man die for the people than that the entire nation should perish.' The same thing. It would be better for us to go back to Mitzrayim. They'd seen the signs that he was doing, and yet they did not believe so as to do what was inconvenient for them. They thought, oh no, if we go with this man, then the Romans shall come and shall destroy us. Surely it's better that one man die for the people than that the entire nation should perish. Surely that's better. That's the same reasoning that we've been talking about since the beginning of this parsha. It's this unbelief. It's couching things in terms that make it seem like you're doing what is good. Yehovah's love. Do you think he'd want his entire people to die? If we do this, then the Romans are going to come and they're going to destroy us. Surely it's better if one man died. Surely it would be better for us if we went back to Egypt. Verse 12 of Numbers 14. "I smite them with the pestilence and disinherit them, and make of you a nation greater and mightier than they." Yehovah speaking to Moshe. Moshe said to Yehovah, "Then the Mitzrites shall hear it, for by your power you brought these people up from their midst. And they shall say to the inhabitants of this land, they have heard that you, Yehovah, are in the midst of these people, that you, Yehovah, are seeing eye to eye, and that your cloud stands above them, and you go before them in a column of cloud by day, and in a column of fire by night. Now, if you shall kill these people as one man, then the nations which have heard of your report shall speak, saying, because Yehovah was not able to bring this people to the land which he swore to give them. Therefore, he killed them in the wilderness." It's amazing to me that Yehovah uses the people's disobedience. He uses the fact that they don't trust in him for Moshe to grow. Here, Moshe is more concerned about Yehovah and about his name in response to this than he is about him becoming a nation and the people coming from him. Moshe approaches Yehovah and he says, no, this is the right way for your name not to be halal among the Gentiles. So even in their disobedience, Yehovah uses this opportunity for Moshe's growth, and he's strengthened by the disobedience of the others. And it's the same for us. It should not be any surprise to us that we are surrounded by people who profess Yehovah to be Elohim, but who do not believe him at his word. Same Joshua and Caleb, same for the prophets, same for Moshe. It should be no surprise for us, but Yehovah uses all things for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. In Deuteronomy 9:23-29, Moshe says, "And when Yehovah sent you from Kadesh Barnea, saying, 'Go up and possess the land which I have given you,' then you rebelled against the mouth of Yehovah your Elohim, and you neither trusted him nor listened to his voice. You have been rebellious against Yehovah from the day that I knew you. So I fell down before Yehovah the 40 days and 40 nights, for I fell down because Yehovah said he would destroy you. And I prayed to Yehovah and said, O Master Yehovah, do not destroy your people and your inheritance whom you have redeemed in your greatness, whom you have brought out of Mitzrayim with a strong hand. Remember your servants Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Do not look on the stubbornness of this people, or on their wrong, or on their sin. Lest the land from which you brought us should say, because Yehovah was not able to bring them to the land which he promised them, and because he hated them, he has brought them out to kill them in the wilderness." That's actually what the people were charging Yehovah with themselves. "And they are your people and your inheritance, whom you brought out by your great power and your outstretched arm." The same is true today. We read in Ezekiel 36:20-29. "When they came to the Gentiles, wherever they went, they hallowed my set-apart name. For it was said of them, these are the people of Yehovah, and yet they have gone out of his land. But I had compassion on my set-apart name, which the house of Israel had profaned, hallowed among the Gentiles, wherever they went. Therefore say to the house of Israel, thus said the Master Yehovah, I do not do this for your sake, O house of Israel, but for my sake, my set-apart name's sake, which you have profaned, you've hallowed among the Gentiles wherever you went. And I shall set apart my great name, which has been hallowed among the Gentiles, which you have profaned in their midst, and the Gentiles shall know that I am Yehovah, declares the Master Yehovah, when I am set apart in you before their eyes. And I shall take you from among the Gentiles, and I shall gather you out of all lands, and I shall bring you into your own land. And I shall sprinkle clean water on you, and you shall be clean. From all your filthiness, from all your idols I cleanse you. And I shall give you a new heart and a new spirit, put a new spirit within you. And I shall take the heart of stone out of your flesh, and I shall give you a heart of flesh. And put my spirit within you, and I shall cause you to walk in my laws, and to guard my justices, and to do them. And you shall dwell in the land that I gave to your fathers. You shall be my people, and I shall be your Elohim. So our prayer should be as Moshe's prayer, as Yehovah's desire is, that all things should be done for the good of Yehovah's set-apart name. Verse 17 of Numbers 14 continues and says, And now I pray, let the power of Yehovah be great as you have spoken, saying, Yehovah is patient and of great kindness, forgiving iniquity and transgression, but by no means leaving unpunished, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generation. And he says, Please forgive the iniquity of this people according to the greatness of your kindness, as you have forgiven this people from Mitzrayim, even until now. So in this, Yehovah is calling on Moshe is calling on Yehovah's name, and he's saying, this is your name, that you would forgive iniquity. Please do this to these people. Verse 20, Yehovah responds to this calling upon his name, and he says, I shall forgive according to your word, but truly as I live, and all the earth is filled with the esteem of Yehovah, for none of these men who have seen my esteem and the signs which I did in Mitzrayim and in the wilderness, and have tried me now these 10 times, and have disobeyed my voice, shall see the land of which I swore to their fathers, nor any of those who scorn me see it. So in this, we can see Moshe is calling on an aspect of Yahovah's name. He's calling upon the fact that he is forgiving. Just as people today will focus on one aspect of his name and forget the rest, Moshe seems to have forgotten the rest here. And I'm not saying that Moshe is doing something wrong like people today who twist the word for their own benefit. Moshe is simply calling on Yahovah's name and asking him to be forgiving. But the aspect of Yahovah's name which Yahovah is remembering here, by no means leaving unpunished, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generation. And we can see in this that Yahovah is still acting in accordance with his name. He said, I will forgive according to your prayer. But he says, this is also part of my name. I will by no means leave unpunished. And he says he will visit the iniquity of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generation. This is something that we actually see in what happens here. I've explained before the idea of how this isn't a generational curse. This isn't people being punished for the sins of their fathers, but to visit the iniquity on the children is what is happening in this situation. Their parents all came out of the land of Egypt. They were made to walk through the wilderness, travel through the wilderness for 40 years because their parents were being punished for their sin. So the sin of the parents can bring about bad consequences in the lives of the children, even if the children will not bear the sin of the parents. Then the iniquity of the parents is visited upon the children. This is certainly something that people who are in a position, which I hope that people can recognize where they're actually at today, and that they won't look in the mirror, see where they're at and walk away and forget what they look like, but they'll see if there are areas of unbelief in their life, because the unbelief in the lives of the children of Israel who came out from Egypt was visited on their children. Their children had to put up with the consequences of the sin of their parents, and the same is true for us as well. Galatians 6:7-8 says, be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. But he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap everlasting life. Verse 24 of Numbers 14 says, but my servant Caleb, because he has a different spirit in him and has followed me completely. Okay, he believed what I said. He didn't just believe I existed, but he followed me completely. He did what I said. He trusted in me. Because of that, I shall bring him into the land where he went, and his seed shall inherit it. So Joshua and Caleb followed Yahovah. They didn't just believe in him, they followed him and they believed him. They didn't allow their own spirits or their own selves to halal Yahovah's word. They trusted in Yahovah, and so they presented truth and reality to their brethren. They followed him wholly. That's what it was for them to follow him wholly, and that's what it should look like in our lives, our relations with other people, with fellow believers, for us to be said to have followed Yahovah completely as well. Now, in the third part, one of the things that I'm going to look at is something that's actually come up in the comments section a couple of times. We're gonna look at self-deception as a continuance of this theme, but we're going to look at how the children of Israel went astray from Yahovah, and we're going to consider Hasatan's role in this, because Hasatan is not told to us to have been a part of this in any way. And it's the same in our lives too. Every time we decide to do something bad, we don't always blame it on Hasatan. Okay, we don't actually see Hasatan's role fully explained until the New Testament. We see him in action in the book of Job, where he's the accuser of the brethren, and he brings this trial upon the brethren. We see his role in the Old Testament, but we have it explained much more clearly in the New Testament. The thing which has come up in the comments section, which I also want to address briefly, is the idea of Lucifer being Hasatan. This was particularly something that came up in the Mark of the Beast teaching. People have confusion about Lucifer, and actually, if we consider what the word Lucifer, who that's actually talking about, we can see in his actions what we have been considering thus far, and what we are to avoid in our lives. Okay, so that will make more sense hopefully when we get to the third part. But we're going to look at Hasatan. We're going to look at these people who are responsible for their own actions, about how it's down to a lack of belief and not always down to Hasatan. And in that, we will consider who Lucifer is, and hopefully we'll come to a better understanding of that section of the scriptures too. So it's 2:30 now. If we come back at 1:45, that would be good. So about 18 minutes time, we'll come back, and we'll finish this up. We'll do the third part. Okay, thanks.